Another Coach's Corner episode today. Really interesting topic, I know, especially for myself and Dana, who's going to be kind of leading off the topic. Today, we're talking about hustle culture and if it's even necessary. So you may have heard that term, hustle culture, kind of being thrown around. You may have seen it on social, seen it in media. And today we're kind of break that down and see how that affects us mentally and physically within the health and fitness space, and kind of with our work lifestyles, work-life balance, and all that good stuff. But before we get into that, Dana, I know we've done some hot seat questions already with you. Today, we're just going to do, let's say 5. And I didn't write these down, so these are going to be off the top of my head as well.
Okay.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Question 1. Who's your biggest mentor?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Man. Probably my first female boss I ever had.
Okay.
I was like 22 at the time, and still she's one of my biggest mentors.
Nice. Least favorite exercise?
I hate lunges. I hate them. They're great for you, but I hate them.
All right. Least favorite food to eat?
Sauerkraut.
Ooh, yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
Terrible.
Red Bull or Monster?
Monster.
With you on that one. Are you a the zero Monster, like
Zero.
the white and the red?
Zero.
Yeah.
Monster. Orange.
Orange. Okay, cool. Prefer spring, summer, or fall? I don't like winter, so I'm not even going to mention it.
Summer.
Summer.
Yes.
Nice. All right. Last question. I know we may have asked this in some of our meetings within our team, but what's your favorite dream vehicle?
I'm going to go G-Wagon.
G-Wagon. Nice. All right, cool. So there's some hot seat questions. So talking about hustle culture today, what even is it? And you may recognize it as when somebody really works or is always busy, yet they're feeling exhausted, they're feeling burnt out. You may have heard grind culture or burnout culture. It kind of fits along those same lines. So today we want to cover that stuff. And Dana, just from your perspective, when you see hustle culture out and about within social media or within even workspaces with other teammates that may be trying to get to the next level and they're just staying busy, what's your initial perspective when you hear the term hustle culture?
So I feel like my perspective over the years has like drastically changed. I think initially in my mid-20s, even into late 20s, beginning 30s, it was more of I was with them. I was that individual as well that I've never been scared of, quote unquote, the grind. But I often thought more is better all the time. It didn't matter what it was. Like it was literally, I was somewhat like chasing perfection instead of progress. So especially with my workouts and my career. So those were like the two things, like more is always better. The more I work, the more I'm going to get done. And like, honestly, if I'm being self-aware, I was more with them than against them. Like I at one point, really was consistently on the grind, honestly. And you somewhat get this pristine feeling, right? But now I'm like, I'm in my mid-30s now. And that's the first time I've said that out loud. I hit 35 and that's the first time I've said that. So things shifted for me in like early 30s, middle to early 30s, where I started to realize the detriment that it has on your health And really, more is not always better. It can actually hinder what you're looking to achieve. And I think our culture in general is shaped around more is better in every single avenue in the United States. It is more technology, more work, more food, more everything.
And immediately too, like right now, everything.
Yes, like everything is like in abundance all the time. And it's like, I feel like that is starting, some other countries are starting to recognize the downfalls in that from an individual perspective, as well as collectively as a human race. So I'm excited to get talking about this as I've kind of evolved in my thinking, and this is seriously a passion topic for mine. So I'll try to stay concise and on track, but you may have to reel me in on this one.
No, and just so everybody's aware, we want this to be conversational. So especially this topic can yield a lot of different opinions one way or the other. So if you guys jump in, feel free to jump in and kind of weigh in on the situation. And I know Dana and I are kind of on the same page. We're kind of more production versus just being busy. We're not against hard work, any of that stuff, but we look at production and how do we achieve more, just all overall production, not just staying busy over time. Because I see it too on social media. You see people always posting, it's 3 a.m. I'm in the gym at 3 a.m. and I'm working till midnight. Like, you just can't do that. You can't maintain that cycle just from a health perspective, right? I mean, it's just not possible.
Yeah, and I think like in some circles, and I would say most people on the call, like most of their circles that they interact with, like it appears that always going the extra mile, whether it be in your career or even other aspects of your life, is celebrated as like walking the heroic path, right? Despite the drastic negative effects overworking can have on your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional health. It's almost celebrated. It's, we often see, it's International Women's Day. We often see the question, can women do it all? And the same applies for men, like that have families, that have, they love their spouse. They want to do things with their spouse. They have young kids, like, so it goes full circle, whether it be work, whether it be fitness, whether it be anything. Like, just because you are busy does not equate to being productive. And same thing goes for the gym, right? Just because you are in the gym, sorry, y'all know I just let it out on here, doesn't mean you're doing shit in the gym. Like, you could be on your phone half the time, right? Or you could be walking at 3.5 because you're answering emails, when you know damn well you could hit 5.0 and see better results. So it's like, I think the aspect of like self-awareness comes into play big time here. And I think for me, when I was at that stage of like, oh, I need to work out 6 days a week, 5 is not enough, or an hour and a half, I have to do an hour and a half, an hour is not enough. Well, what if I can get what I can get done in 45 minutes versus an hour and a half? I don't chit chat like to people. Or you have to set your boundaries and your priorities to what your goals are. And just because like you're busy in your work life or your everyday life, like that doesn't equate to one, productivity. It also does not mean that it's success. And I think our culture in general has combined all of that to, if it's almost become the norm to work more than 40 hours a week, and that's often celebrated across the country, especially in the United States. Like, the more you work, you often get promotions, or your counterparts see, oh, they work this much, but it's through a lens, right? We don't know how much they're really doing. It's just like social media, it's at face value of what they're presenting.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it goes into this.
Something that we talked about before is like, and I brought up, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. You always see him posting. I mean, he's huge. Obviously, he's at the next level, right? I mean, he's very successful, but he's always posting he's in the gym at 3 a.m. or different times and doing all this and that, and it looks like the guy never sleeps, right? So it's just crazy. So we have to take that at face value, because we really don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, he may take a nap from 1 to 4. He's not sharing that.
Right,
Like, don't
exactly.
get me wrong, like, I love The Rock, right? I've
Yep,
always
I do
liked
too.
him. But also you have to understand, like, he is at a different level. He is at an elite level. And when you are at those type of levels, your commitment is going to have to be different. So your commitment level and your input needs to be dictated on what your goals are, whether it be with career, and I mean, I'm not saying also that you can't be successful and you have to put in 90 hours a week. Like, do you understand what that's going to do to your body over time? And let's just face it, like, we're talking losing relationships, we're talking less productivity because your brain cannot function, we're talking extreme weight gain, all of that stuff that's not mentioned in hustle culture, right? Because
Right.
it's not pretty.
Right. And that's the other thing with hustle culture and some of the stuff you see on social media. All these people look super fit. They look like they're making millions of dollars. They're driving the Lamborghinis. They're working 22 hours a day. And again, it goes back to that face value thing, right? So if we bring that down to like most of us, like myself, for example, I have a 1-year-old, right? I can't be, working from say 6 to 8. I got to spend time with her, feed her, bathe her, clothe her, do her laundry, do all that stuff. So I have to really chunk it out and make sure I get done what I need to get done between set hours that I can. So again, it goes back to that face value, and kind of transitioning to the whole fitness part of it with work. What would you say people do? Should they work out in 30-minute increments and just do more and like exhaust and kill themselves, or prolong that, do a slower type of fitness routine over an hour or so?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the best answer in fitness that we always give. It depends. I know people hate to hear that because they really usually want a black and white answer, but the world of fitness is really just filled with all gray. In that it depends on, one, let's always start with what are your goals? 2, what does your lifestyle look like? And 3, I think the biggest thing that we often miss in this, and I talked to you about this yesterday, Eric, is like,
Yeah.
what's your commitment? And
Right.
oftentimes as coaches, we see individuals that'll come in and say, okay, I'm ready to make a change. I'm going to work out 4 days a week, an hour session each. I'm on a new diet plan, like a specific meal plan. I'm going to eat this, this, and this every day. But your issue is that you don't show up. Like, what if we focus on that piece first? Like, where are your downfalls? What do you struggle with? So for me, for example, mine's completely outside of this, but I get really bored in my workouts, really bored very quickly. And I know from a scientific standpoint that I need some consistency in my training and movement patterns and progression in order to see results, right? So I actually reach outside of myself. I actually connected with Matt Hands last week to see if he can start working with me to develop a program for me based on my goals, based on my time frame, because I'm getting too accustomed to my own training and I get too bored. So I just do whatever I want. And like that, I'm not seeing any progress anymore because I've been training for so long. So what I'm saying in that is like, find what you really like, where your sticking points are. And if it's you struggle getting to the gym 4 days a week, I would advise you just to start showing up. Just show up first. Start showing up. And then once you start showing up and it's like it's a non-negotiable that you're going to hit those 4 days a week, then that's where you start to make progress and you build on that progress. But I would say with, shorter versus longer, it depends on what kind of time you have in your everyday. But I'll tell you, some people are like, I only got 30 minutes here. It's just not even worth my time to commit to exercise. That's not long enough. I promise you, every coach on this call, it's literally like, I can bust your ass in 30 minutes in a good way, right? But when you come in,
Right.
you're with me, you're with Beth, you're with Randy, whatever, and you are committed to those 30 minutes. So from start to finish, we aren't on our phone. We are laser focused on what we are doing. And that's often the difference. We oftentimes in everyday life don't have laser focus in times where we really need to focus on specific tasks. So it takes us longer to complete, right? When maybe if you're working with a coach, we would be able to get you in 30 minutes what you would be able to get you in an hour. And that's normal. That's not something that like you're falling short on. That's normal. We are designed to want to feel comfortable. So when we push you outside that comfort zone, like it's not comfortable. And I think those things all tie into one to say like, is longer or shorter better? It's going to be what works in your life and what you can see the progress with in the time domain you're given.
Yeah, and circling that background to the hustle culture, I know we talked about it yesterday about the purpose of it. So if you're going in, say, to work out at lunchtime, you have a half hour. What hustle culture would be, you walk in, you spend 5 minutes, changing your clothes, you spend another 5 minutes checking emails, make sure nothing came in as you were walking in, spend another 5 minutes getting your water bottle filled, talking to somebody that you just saw in the gym. You spend 10 minutes working out, then the rest, again, you're getting dressed, go back to work. And you're saying, oh, I just spent 30 minutes, 35 minutes working out at the gym. When in reality, you spent 10, you're just busy doing other things. So it's really like that purpose that you just talked about.
I think I took that into consideration in my own training too, is like, I started looking at the time I was actually doing work instead of the time I was actually there. And that gave me like an indication. And, like, I don't align with hustle culture because I feel like it has many negative side effects that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but that's not to say that I'm not full on like believe in commitment and dedication and consistency. There's a very big difference, just a very, very big difference on I have to stay busy all the time and productivity makes me successful versus like, I'm committed to my diet, so you won't see me eating crap very often.
Right.
It'll be a treat every now and again, but like, I'm very committed to working out, so you will see me train 5 days a week. Those are different than being in this nonstop, I got to grind all the time. Those are two different animals where there can be a balance, but I promise you the challenging piece is finding that balance.
Right. And that goes back to that whole mantra of the work-life balance, right? Because honestly, work is kind of life, but at the same time, you have to mentally get out of that. You have to kind of extrovert yourself into your surroundings with your family, because you need that love. You need that mental break from the 8 inches in front of you that you spend staring at your computer screen for 9 hours a day. So, and like you said, I think that has that fine line there of what is hustle culture, but what is commitment and dedication, persistence, and productivity. And so I think that's kind of where a lot of people feed into that. I know I'm guilty of that myself every now and then. You're constantly looking at emails and stuff just to make sure you're not missing something. And I actually had a conversation with Exo's team about it, the marketing team, because we talked about, we want to get associates involved with social media and doing interactive things with them, but how do we get past the mindset of them feeling like it's okay to look at social media while at work? I think that ties into the hustle culture. They think they'll get in trouble doing that because they're supposed to be glued to their emails or tasks or whatever it is that they're required to do.
And I think a lot of it can be like, for me, I talked to you yesterday about just being focused on the task at hand and being able to get to a point where you can prioritize your task. And, you know, like I told you, when I was in Matt's role, in a performance role, it was in a continuing education role, it was definitely geared more towards, it was not task oriented anymore. It was looking at, in the role I'm in back in now, or the new role that I'm in, it's more task oriented. But when I was in the performance role, it was more how to get the team from A to Z on how we wanted this facility to be run. And so that was more of me having to think career-wise, like it was more strategic, it was more long game, it was more implementing phases, but there was no like, I need to get this done today. And I struggled bad with that when I first started, because like I was so used to like, I have to do this today, this day, this. Sometimes like all I had to do that day was coach and do some PT, but like I knew if I sat on my ass, like I wasn't helping my team get any further. I actually had to have one of my counterparts, actually, he had nothing to do with my role, nothing, but I had him send deadline dates to me. No one else seen them, but he would send deadline dates to me on my calendar that I asked him to send. So they weren't my deadlines, like I was responsible to someone else. So I could start prioritizing what I needed to work on. And that drastically helped me. And I think it is trying to find that, whatever that may be for you. What worked for me may not work for you, but it was finding my priorities and then focusing on those tasks specifically, whatever they might be, and being laser focused. And I've been able to do that a lot better over the years. It's like when I'm in the facility, when I'm at work, I tend to be more hyper focused than I am outside of it. And I do that because I'd like to get my work done here so I can enjoy my personal life outside of here. And I used to not do that. Like I would literally work maybe 8 to 10 hours. I would go get a quick workout of an hour. I'd go home and eat dinner and then do what I needed to do. And then I would work till I went to bed. And that was at least a 2-year, almost 3-year time frame until there was serious burnout. And I think that's our topic. What we want to talk on next is like burnout is when you get to a mental and emotional exhaustion where it just feels like you can't do anything else on your plate, or maybe you don't want to because all that motivation is gone. There's also another gear where you're just kind of coasting in that burnout phase. Like you're just living, like you're still grinding, but you're living and you have no joy, no, nothing. And like, guys, I heard a podcast the other day. This might have beef with some people, but it literally said like, life is not that serious. And it hit me. I was like, oh man, like
you only get one of them.
Man,
you're right.
Like all this stuff that like day to day that happens that you're like, oh, I can't believe this happened. We got to do this, this, and this. Like, it'll be okay. And like, eventually I've gotten to a much better place. And I feel like from a leadership standpoint, that's been a little bit better for me to be like that. Because I mean, these guys may say different, but I feel like it sometimes doesn't put as much pressure on them as maybe I used to, because I would just grind. We're going. It's like, oh, we didn't get it done today. Like, hey, I need you to get it done tomorrow. It's okay that you didn't get it done today. I mean, some circumstances don't call for that. Don't get me wrong, but like some are not that serious.
Yeah, and I think something that I try to do and think of in that similar regard is what kind of value is this time-specific project going to have on the end user, whoever's going to be seeing it or looking at it? Is it going to add a tremendous amount of value to where I need to get it done right away? Then that's my priority of stuff that I want to get done versus the opposite. If it doesn't take away value, doesn't add value, then to me, it's not as important as other things. So
yeah,
with the burnout, I mean, from your perspective, how do people kind of draw back from that hustle culture? They're so used to just pedal to the metal, go, but the production is still kind of level, right? It's not, I hear this a lot. Some people say the more I spend, the more I'll get done, when we know that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
We see it from people working Monday through Friday. They have a set amount of tasks. They know they could probably get them done in 3 days, right? But they spread that out over the 5 days. So they stay busy those whole 5 days, when in reality, they could get it done in 3. So how do people draw back from that hustle culture mindset into actual production?
And I told you one of my favorite quotes that I've heard recently is like, if you give yourself 30 days to clean your house, it's going to take you 30 days to clean your house.
Yeah.
If you give yourself 3 hours to clean your house, by God, that house will be clean in 3 hours. I guarantee it. And like I have like some tools and tricks to the trade. I do want to elaborate though, when we're talking about hustle culture, like I don't necessarily mean all career either. What I mean by that is like your kids' soccer games, you're cooking dinner, like it is just nonstop for you is what I mean. Is like work maybe 10 hours, kids' sports, cooking dinner, you work 2 more hours. That's a total of 12 hours. You only got paid for 8. So you did 4 hours of free labor, and your all's bosses may kill me. But and that's where it starts, right? It starts at leadership.
Yep.
It really does. So but some tricks of the trade that I have listed out that have been scientifically proven to help with this. There's 5 things, and one is just start by keeping track of your energy levels. So that's honestly reflecting. You have to do some self-reflection. So that's reflecting on how you feel mentally, how you feel physically, and how you feel emotionally. Just because you are emotional one day, you are not weak, right? Things are going on that are happening there. It can be hormonal,
Right.
It can be burnout, it can be all of those things. Listen to what is happening with your body. It will tell you a full story, right? The next one, the biggest thing I would say is like schedule your rest days and your hobby time. Like schedule them, especially as we get older, have kids, have families. I just booked a night out with one of my best friends a month from now. But I literally was like, if we don't book it now, like it's not going to happen. We have so much stuff going on. And I told Eric this yesterday. Sunday is really a big rest day for me.
Yep.
I told him before, I used to get like the Sunday scaries, something awful. And I would check my email every like 7 o'clock, let's say. On Sunday night, I'd start to wind down and I'd start to check my email, answer any outstanding things, and prep for the following week. I'm not saying don't do this. You can do what you want, right? But I'm just telling you from my experience, I made a commitment to myself that I'm not going to do that anymore. And this,
Yeah, I think a lot of us are guilty of that too.
Yeah, it's a big thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
So this was it's probably been 2 years now. I made this commitment to myself. My number one goal career-wise was to somehow find some work-life balance. So this is where I started. And I promise you, it was harder for me not to check it than it was to check it, right?
Yeah.
But I learned over time, it got easier and easier. And I'll tell you, like, my Mondays sometimes are not as smooth. I feel behind a little bit sometimes. I don't feel as prepared, but guess what? Everything gets done that needs to. And now I'm not taking away a day of rest for me that I worked hard for those other days, doing work that can be done on my time of work.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, I know deadlines. Like, I've worked 14-hour days, I've worked 12-hour days, 10-hour days. I've done that. Trust me, I'm not saying that. There's a time and place for that, but I don't have to do that every Sunday, right? I don't have to get on my computer. Now I stay in the summer on the lake on the boat till 9 o'clock. And then I come home and, and I fully got to enjoy that day. And what I found is like on Monday, I'm like ready to go because I am fully recharged because I did not spend half of my off time or my weekend devoted to my work. And I promise I've still been as productive. That took a while, but it was a commitment that I made. So number 2 is like schedule your rest days and stuff that you enjoy. And 3, Eric's really big on this, guys, is look at which task you like to do and actually makes the biggest impact in your life. So what 20% of my actions give me 80% of my results? I think that's a huge one. Like, once you know that, you can focus on giving 110% on those important things and give less energy on other tasks. Not meaning you slack off, but like a primary focus and then a lighter type of lift. Like, for example, I told Matt Hands today, like, I'm going to do some retail stuff today when I get off here. And that's because like I've got most of my tasks done, but that needs to be done. And I enjoy that type of work because I get to turn my mind off. So it's things like that, finding what works for you. Number 4 is get clear on your boundaries. I think this is really hard for some people. And you have to get to a point in your career, I think, where you feel secure enough to do this. Because I'll tell you, one of my mentors told me 4 years ago that I need to set boundaries, and I didn't listen to him. I'm like, no way, like I don't have the authority to do that. I can't do that. I finally listened to him, and it started to work out, right? It's setting those boundaries, because if you're a person that is going to answer emails at all costs at 11:30 at night, at 5:30 in the morning, at a Sunday at 3 p.m., a Saturday at 2 p.m., then that's going to eventually become expected of you. And that's just human nature, right? And those boundaries are your time. There might be one-offs, right? That, you know, a leader needs to connect with a team member to say, hey, I know it's your day off. Can you just do this real quick? Or, you know, do you know this, or something like that, that can be really shortly answered, but to really set those boundaries that this is your time. I think that's really the biggest one. And then final piece is define what success looks like for you. I think this is a big one.
It's a hard one for a lot of people.
Yeah. And because success in our country specifically is money, right? Money, power, titles. And that's not what success looks like for everybody. At one point, I feel like that was what success looked like for me too, until it was, I want to be happy. I want to love what I do. I want to help people. I want to be energized in what I do. And I want to have a thriving social life with people I really care about. And I want to interact with my family and be really present when I'm there. That's what success looks like for me. So I changed how I was, because my success looked different than just a dollar amount or a title. And that's hard to really look at.
I think it's like you see a lot of younger people. When I say younger, I mean like late teens, early 20s, that they don't know what their success looks like. They don't know a 5-year, 10-year plan. I think that's okay too. Like, you have to experience life and experience things. And that kind of goes away from that hustle culture, right? To be able to know what it is you like or want to do, or how your lifestyle should be in the future. So like I said, I think that's hard for a lot of people. I know myself, I was always trying to do the next best thing to try to really hit financial goals as fast as possible. And then my success kind of shifted when I had my daughter. So my success became her future, not necessarily mine.
Mhm.
And I think that can be a big shift for people. A couple quotes we had in the chats. Good one from Sherry. She said, if you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute.
Yes.
So procrastination right there. That's a good one. Amy Poole, her and her friends kind of book out, each month for a whole year, even though some of the dates may change, but they dedicate that time for each other and well-being. So that's awesome. I think a lot of us could do that probably better than what we do currently.
Oh, for sure.
And then one of our coaches, Amy Llewellyn, said, you're not burnt out from doing too much. You're burnt out from not doing enough of the things that set your soul on fire.
I think that's so true, right? It's like, find what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about knitting, I need you to knit. Like, because those are the things that make you just an incredible human being to be around. I think most of us do things that like that are not consistently setting our soul on fire. So we just walk around as miserable human beings. And
Right.
it's like I said, life is not that serious. That's not how it's meant to be lived. So like, do your self-work to find what makes you happy, what makes you feel good inside. What, for me, it's literally my knowledge is in passion, or my knowledge is in fitness. And that's become my passion, right? Because I can truly help someone through that. And it's like, find those things that bring you joy, whether it's wine with friends, something as far, it doesn't have to be something that's productive either. It can just be something that brings you inner peace. And I think that's
Dana,
super important. What's that?
Or when you were saying like walking around like zombies or whatever, that reminded me of this other quote. I think it was Benjamin Franklin or something, but it was like, most people die at 25 but aren't buried until 75. And that one, I don't know, that one just like hit me. But it's like
I like that.
I don't know, think like our dreams just die and we just like go about life on this like sad autopilot until we die. I don't know. So it's just like, don't give up on those things that you love and things that you enjoy doing.
I think
and
that's
don't think
so important.
A limit there either.
Not a limit. Like all the motivational stuff I listen to, it's always like, it doesn't matter if you're 45, 65, 75, you're not in the grave. Like there's no time limit. And I think that's also what we do is put things drastically into a box a lot of times. I do want to touch on one thing, Eric, that I'm super passionate about, and it goes along with like burnout, and it's sleep. And so my friends like make fun of me all the time because I am a little bit obsessive about it. So I will say, like, I'm probably not great on the spectrum either, because I get like obsessive about, I have to be in bed because I need to get this many hours. But I told you about the study I've been reading that's really been interesting to me. And it was talking about what actually happens in the physiological part of your brain when you're sleeping. So we all know, right? They say sleep is recovery, it's good for your brain, yada, and we all know that. But what really happens during this time is like throughout the spinal fluid and the brain, when you sleep, when stuff's going on during the day, just like this conversation, ideas and what you want to say and things are building up in your brain. So you literally, for the lack of a better word, build up crap all day long in your brain, from watching TV to working out, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. It's literally building up with, like, and I mean not figuratively, literally, it's filling up. I forget what the word is called, but like he literally said crap in the context. And what happens, you need at least 8 hours for that fluid to pretty much just wash out your brain. This is like really layman's terms, guys. And thank you, Dakota. You saved my life there. It's called metabolic byproducts, is building up in your brain. And you need at least 8 hours of sleep, not 7, not 6. You need at least 8 for your brain to completely be washed through, where all the crap or metabolic byproduct is free from your brain, right? And what they're finding in science, and they've been doing studies for quite some time now, is individuals that are not getting consistent 8 hours of sleep, which they are seeing it more in the United States than any, is that they are getting early onset Alzheimer's, dementia, and other brain-related diseases due to that lack of sleep and that lack of washing away that metabolic byproducts. And like, so I'll have to find this and try to send this out to the group, but it's a super interesting study. I watched a whole thing on it. But so that's another thing, right? When people are like, oh, I can function on 4 hours of sleep. Great. You may be able to function, but that's not all that's happening in the brain that needs to happen for your long-term health. You may be able to function, but is that healthy for you? And it's like those things are super important that are always overlooked. And anytime I work with a client that wants to lose weight, wants to minimize stress, all that, the first question I ask is, how's your sleep? Like, because that piece, if they're not sleeping, I guarantee you they're going to struggle with possible weight loss because of our hormones, and one of them being ghrelin. Like, a lot of that is going to be triggered. And so I don't know, I find that so interesting, is like, monitor your sleep, look at getting 8 hours of sleep. You know, that show will be there tomorrow. We have all kind of streaming devices now. It will be there. So it's like, make it a priority. We're also here's a pitch here. We're also having a sleep boot camp, March 14th.
Put it in the comments though.
Through March 18th, that is going to talk about tips, tools, all of that stuff. And these coaches are highlighted on this about sleep and how to get better sleep, how to set yourself up for success in that.
Yeah, I put that in the comments. So again, it's March 14th through 18th. For those of you who didn't catch it, you can go to our SharePoint page. You can find that at go/fitness and then virtual, and it's under our fitness activities. You'll see it there. We're gonna have signups going on the rest of this week, and then from there we'll kick that off on the 14th. So Dana, just to wrap it up here, so we're kind of coming up on time. I know you went through the kind of the 5 things people could do, associates could do to kind of pull back from hustle culture, but just to end this whole saga, I know we can go into a bigger rabbit hole too if we wanted to with this. From a leadership position like yourself, and then from say an employee position or associate position, what are some just things that we can avoid, that we know this feeling, this overwhelming feeling of we have to constantly be connected? Where can we go? What can we do? Can we come to Well and just hang out there and to get disconnected? Can we take a walk around the block? If you had like one thing to pick out to tell everybody to start with, what would that be?
I don't know if it would be a thing, more like a mindset. I would honestly say, like, evaluating what success means to you, and then finding something that sets your soul on fire would be 2 of mine. Something that you can easily do in the day is, you know, get some sunlight. That's going to be huge for you, is like, make yourself take that 10-minute walk and get out and refresh your mind and those type of things. But I would say first, where to start is like defining what success is for you, and then setting boundaries. Obviously in organizations, a lot of times that's going to come from the top down, but for associates that have people higher up than them, my advice would be to maybe try to communicate that as best as you can in a professional way, and to be vocal about that, because your leaders don't know where you're at unless they know where you're at, right? So that's often really hard to do sometimes, because you don't want to be perceived as weak. But I hope your leaders take into consideration you as a human being. So, I mean, that's always a hard line, but if we don't set the boundaries for ourselves, no one will.
And if you communicate that, right, then it becomes more predictable to those leaders, and they know what to expect from you. And then you get tons of stuff done within that set boundaries. They're going to love that. They're not going to hate that. So they're going to know what to expect, and it's going to be consistent over time. So awesome. So that kind of wraps up today with our hustle culture. If you guys have any other comments or questions about this, around this, ideas, opinions, whatever, you can put them in the chat here, or you can send us an email. We're going to have this replay up within our Yammer community, the Well at Humana community, here within the next day or 2 as well, so you can check it out. If you know of any friends or any other associates or coworkers that need to hear this or want to hear this, feel free to tag them in that as well. But we have 2 more weeks. So what's that? The 22nd is going to be our next Coach's Corner. And we might be doing it all from on site. That'd be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
March 16th, the date to open. So we might be doing it all from the Well Center. So we hope to see you guys there. Thanks again for joining us today. Again, that's March 22nd, the next one at 2 p.m. as they always are. Thanks, Dana, for kind of heading this one off, talking about it. We may bring this one up again because we have a lot more we can discuss on it. So thanks, guys. We'll see you March 22nd.
Thank you all.